Cool. Eat, Sleep, Boxing, Repeat. My name is Eliot. I'm joined by Greg and Paul. This is Fortnightly Friday, which we're going to try and do every fortnight from now on instead of every 2 months. Greg, Paul, how are you doing this evening?
All good, Eliot. Thanks for having us.
Yes, all good.
Nice one, guys. Cool. So we've got 6 topics that we're going to try and skim through this evening, and just going to maybe spend a few minutes each on both. First of all, going to start with the Jake Paul, Tyrone Woodley situation. So apologies that we have to talk about it. I feel like it's too big of an issue not to talk about now. I don't know about you guys. First of all, guys, have you caught up in the fight? I don't think either of you stayed up to watch it. Have you caught up on it at all? Be honest.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
I'll go, Paul. You started, mate.
Because me and Sam were doing the review, I unfortunately did have to watch it the next morning, the full fight, and it's what, 8 rounds. It's half an hour of my life I'll probably never get back. Right. So that's the way I'm putting it. I don't like Jake Paul. I don't really mind saying that. What he's doing for boxing, I don't have a problem with it as long as he doesn't think he can actually go in and beat real professional. Imagine he was fighting a real proper good cruiserweight, he wouldn't last a round. But for what it is, he's bringing eyeballs to the sport. So I suppose you got to take your hat off to him in a way.
Absolutely. And Greg, how about yourself?
I couldn't stop smiling. I just love Paul's passion when it comes to Jake Paul. It's amazing. I didn't watch it, but I caught some highlights. I seen the bit where Woodley rocked him and things. About outside the box, I think Jake Paul's got a bit of balls about him. I think he can box a little bit, but I think if he was to come up, like Paul said, against anyone with a decent boxing brain, he's gone. It's a strange one because people are falling for the trap that Jake Paul is saying things because he knows it's going to trigger people. This whole, give me 3 years and I'll fight Canelo. In 3 years, he wouldn't compete with Canelo's sister, never mind Canelo. So it's just to get people talking. But it is what it is. As long as he stays in his lane, like Paul says, I don't mind. But I just get a feeling I don't think we'll see the Tommy Fury fight. I don't know why. I just don't think it'll happen. And
if that fight was to happen, the Tommy Fury fight, what have you got a prediction for that one?
A lot of people, I can hear them automatically thinking Tommy Fury, but his last 2 fights not been great, has he? There is something that's talented about Tommy Fury, but I also think that there's something very limited about him. At this present moment in time, I would just have to say Tommy Fury, but I'm not overly confident on it, if I have to be honest.
Okay, and be honest with us, Tommy Fury pay-per-view, Tommy Fury, Jake Paul, pay-per-view, BT Sport box office in 3 months' time. Are you staying up to watch it?
I'm not even buying it, never mind staying up to watch it.
Appreciate your honesty. Cool. And Paul, I think you watched the full fight. I'm interested. Looks like I saw some odds earlier about bookies' odds on what Jake Paul's next fight's going to be. It's odds on favourite for it to be a rematch with Woodley. What would be your prediction for a rematch? What do you think would happen?
Well, I'm one of the, I don't know whether it's few, but I'm one of the people that thinks Woodley, he didn't get robbed, that's not the right word, but he did better than I thought people, 1, thought he would do, and 2, he did better than 2 of the judges' scorecards showed. I had Woodley winning the fight, so I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not ranting and raving, desperate to see it, but if the rematch was to happen, I'd probably say I'd go with Tyrone Woodley, because I was confident Tyrone Woodley was going to win. Like, I was really confident, but I don't know whether that's because I'm a big MMA fan and I've watched him in the UFC for years. Obviously I was wrong, but I don't know whether in a rematch, you don't know, because Jake Paul's only young and he's learning, whether it would probably actually favour him again. Rather than Woodley, who would probably be 40 at the time, and he's still reluctant to pull the trigger. But just, I don't know whether it's me being, because I love Tyrone Woodley, well, I think it's maybe just a little bit of that, but I would probably still back Tyrone Woodley if I had to.
Yeah. Cool. All right. No, thanks for the predictions, gents. We will see what happens, but I've got a feeling we will be talking about Jake Paul again in a couple of months' time. Moving on. I would like the Joshua Usyk undercard has been announced for, it's less than 4 weeks to go now. Going to keep my opinion to myself. Just going to quickly go through the undercards and then we can get some opinions on it. Lawrence Okoli is fighting Dilan Prazovic, who I believe is his mandatory challenger, 15-0 undefeated cruiserweight. Callum Smith is fighting Lenin Castillo, who is 21-3. We have Maxime Prodan and Florian Marcoux, who are both undefeated, who were supposed to fight at Fight Camp. Christopher Usley and Kasson Bayasangurov, I'm going to have a go at that, who, I'll be honest, don't know a lot about, but they are fighting on the undercard. And finally, Campbell Hatton returns for his 4th professional contest. That might not be the final undercard. There could be his injuries and pullouts. We could have an extra fight added, who knows? But I'm going to go to Greg first. First initial thoughts on the undercard. Greg, are you going to be tuning in from 5 p.m. with your popcorn, or are you going to be tuning in at 10 p.m. for the main event?
Well, unfortunately for me, I love boxing, so I'm one of those guys probably watch it from 5 o'clock. But I think undercard's poor. But I think maybe a part of that is down to Sky's budget. What we need to remember is that's Sky's last pay-per-view, and I could be wrong here, but I always feel there's something sinister in the background with sport, and I think Eddie Hearn will know that undercard's not great, but he's not going to put something on Sky that is going to blow everyone's mind. He would rather it was on DAZN if it's going to blow anybody's mind. But yeah, mate, I'm really underwhelmed with it. I've got to be honest. I think the boy Campbell Hatton, he's still only a kid. Put that boy away, get him on small hall shows for a year. He's only 19. Get him fighting every 2 months, but don't highlight it. We'll highlight it in terms of put it on like main TV all the time, because there's going to be so much pressure on him. Because let's be honest, he's not. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near his dad. Let's just say that. But he's got time to develop. Lawrence Okoli is his mandatory challenger. Fair enough. Prodan and Marcoux, I'm hearing that that's going to be a good one. I've not seen Prodan, so I can't comment. And what was the other one that you said there? Christopher Usley? Never even heard of this guy.
So it's a middleweight fight. Christopher Usley is 12-0. The Russian is 21-1. So both got good records. But yeah, I'm honest. I can't. I don't know. It's fun in a way because when you don't know anything, it could be an amazing fight. And I don't, they're not two kind of journeymen having a scrap. It's you don't know. But that's that. Yeah. I think that's supposed to be second.
Underwhelmed, but I'll watch because I love boxing. That's the best way I can put it.
Great. And Paul, similar question. Is there anything that stands out to you? Is there anything that you look at? Oh no, is Paul gone?
Yes.
Okay.
Just
Okay. Fine. Be fun to edit then. Okay.
Yeah.
Have a little break then.
At least we never started getting right into it and then he get cut off, I suppose.
I think this happened with I think this happened with him recently. Oh, here he is.
Back. There we go. There he is. Oh, is he frozen? He's going to jump and just go, he's literally not moving. Oh.
Can you see his face?
Yeah, if I go back to screen 3. Oh, wait, is he back?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's moving.
Oh, yeah. How you doing, Paul?
Apologies, guys. I don't know. That's only ever happened twice, and it was the last time we did it in the evening on the thing, and then here. It's never happened in any of my interviews.
Fair enough. Well, we'll move on. But fingers crossed. We were just slacking you off camera, to be honest. Cool. All right. So, question for Paul. Joshua Usyk undercards. Is there anything that stands out to you? Is there anything you think, I don't mind a bit of that, or are you more of the opinion of same as Greg? It's kind of it's underwhelming.
I'd say it is a wee bit underwhelming, yeah. As a whole, it's underwhelming. To be honest, I don't know if Greg or you agree, but I don't actually mind the Smith Castillo fight, seeing as it's his first fight at light heavyweight.
I missed that one out.
I don't really mind that one because I hadn't really heard much about your man Castillo, but having a look down his record and seeing that is only two. Well, he had 3 losses. And 2 of them one's to Marcus Brown, who he actually knocked down in that fight, and then Bivol, he fought for his world title. I don't actually mind that fight, as a light heavyweight debut for Smith, so I don't really mind that fight. And then again with Okoli okay, the guy's undefeated, but it's a mandatory. He'll probably deal with him relatively comfortably. It is what it is. I would have said that I don't like watching Lawrence Okoli until his last performance, so I would definitely tune in for that because he did look good in his last performance when he won the title. Other than that, as you said, Campbell Hatton, let the kid grow. Not overly fussed on watching him. Florian Marcoux, I know it looks like a decent fight on paper, but again, no interest really in that. And then the other two that you've mentioned in the middleweight division, I can't really pronounce either of their names, to be honest. That fight, again, haven't heard of either of them, so it doesn't really. I can't say that I'll be tuning in with beady eyes watching that.
No, well, at least we've got a good main event to look forward to. Cool. So third topic, Sonny Edwards. He makes the first defense of his world title against Jason Mama, Filipino, next weekend at the Copper Box in London. First kind of question is, obviously Sonny Edwards is the favorite going into this fight. I feel like none of us are going to be experts on Jason Mama, but I want to get your guys' opinion on how good is Sonny Edwards. Are we going to, in a couple of years' time, be talking to him about a pound for pound British current great? Is he going to win multiple world titles? How good do you really think he is? Because I feel like he won that world title. I don't want to say with relative ease, but he won nearly every round when he won that world title earlier in the year. And yeah, just want to get some general thoughts on that. Going to go to Paul first.
I don't know whether he'll go down as a great, because unfortunately for him, it's one of the old classic. It's the lower weight divisions, so it doesn't get as many eyeballs. But as you're right in saying, he did look really good against Montalani. So yeah, I like Sonny Edwards. This fight, it's first defense, we'll let him off. I know the guy is undefeated, and he's young as well, so he'll definitely be coming to win. But as a first defense, I don't mind it. The guy's ranked in the top 20 in the world, so crack on, get your first defense under your belt. I don't know whether he'll go on to become one of Britain's best, but I don't know whether, I could be completely wrong, and I do hope I'm wrong, because I actually kind of like Sonny Edwards. I know a lot of people don't, but I kind of like his banter and stuff on Twitter. I don't mind watching him. I like tuning in to watching him fight. But that division's got a few good fighters in it, so I'd love to see unifications down the line before I don't know whether he move up, go through maybe one or two weights. But yeah, I like watching him, and definitely there are some big fights to make in the division.
Nice, no, most definitely. And same question for you, Greg. Thoughts on Sonny Edwards and how good he actually is, and where do you think he could potentially be in a couple of years?
I think Sonny Edwards is a good fighter. I do think he's good. What I do think, though, is that nobody has really put it on him yet. Is that because he's good? Maybe. But I would like to see him in with Julio Cesar Martinez. I think there's big history in that fight. Obviously, what Martinez done to his brother. So that naturally sells right away. But the problem is, probably I shouldn't look too much at politics. That fight will probably not happen while he's with Frank Warren, because Frank Warren's not going to want to let him go into a DAZN card and risk his world title against Martinez or whatever. So to answer your question, this country, it's very difficult to see people have longevity at the smaller weights because they probably don't live the life that they should. I don't doubt for 1 minute that Sonny Edwards lives a relatively good life, but if you look at these little guys like Roman Martinez, Quadras, those guys, they're just boxing is their life. And I think if you're going to be about 8 stone with the ferocity of the fights, how many punches are thrown, I think you need to live the perfect life. So I think he's good. I want to see him in with somebody that really puts it on him. I do think he could unify that division as long as it's maybe not Martinez, but it is a tough division, and I just think only Sonny Edwards will determine just how far his career goes, because I can't reiterate enough that at those weights you need to live the life. So we will see.
Thanks for that, chaps. No, really, really insightful stuff. Cool. We're in the second half of this now. Anthony Yarde, Lyndon Arthur. We saw Anthony Yarde in a 1-round job over the weekend, which, don't know about you guys, didn't really tell us a lot. Obviously, the first fight was in December of last year, Anthony Yarde won. Anthony Yarde lost a fairly close fight against Lyndon Arthur in a fight that he was the favourite to win. Looks like October is what I'm hearing for the rematch. Might be a bit later than that. Just want to keep this bit relatively short, but I'll go back to Greg again. In 2 minutes or less, give me a breakdown and your prediction for the rematch, mate.
It's a very hard fight, Eliot, because I think I'm one of the people who actually think Anthony Yarde's better than Lyndon Arthur, but belief is everything in boxing, and Lyndon Arthur will be going in with the momentum. The first fight, Anthony Yarde, the first fight reminded me a little bit of Eubank Jr. and Saunders. It took Eubank Jr. 6 rounds to wake up and realise, you know what, I can affect this guy. I just think Arthur needs to start quick. If he starts quick, I think he could potentially get Lyndon Arthur out of there. I think he can hunt him. I really do. There's just something I'm not overly sold on with Lyndon Arthur. So I'm looking forward to it. At this time, I find it really difficult to give you a prediction. I think I'll need to wait till near the time. Sorry, but I'm just being honest.
No worries at all. Just quickly, can I ask you, what do you think Anthony Yarde needs to do to win the rematch?
He needs to put pressure on Arthur early. Don't let him establish the jab. Stay close to him. Work the body. And do not let Arthur get in a rhythm. Make it uncomfortable. Make Arthur blow by the time he gets to round 7. Then we'll take it from there.
Interesting stuff. All right, cool. Paul, same question. Have you got a prediction?
I think Lyndon Arthur will win again. Personally, I don't know whether Anthony Yarde. I know he's added, isn't it James Cook to his team? But I don't know whether, while he still has Tunde, I don't think I know they're friends and they seem to be really loyal with each other, but I don't think while he's with him that he gets the best out of Yarde gets the best out of his ability, because he, as Greg says, he has an undoubted ability. He's natural physique, everything. He's definitely a good fighter. When we can, and I tend to agree with what Greg's saying. I feel like he is probably a better fighter than Lyndon Arthur is, but I don't think he'd beat Lyndon Arthur. I know I don't want to say styles make fights because everybody says that, but I think that Lyndon Arthur's jab last time, bearing in mind his right hand was stuck to his chin the whole time because he couldn't throw it. I think if you can do that with one hand, well, when you got another one, I think you can make it a little bit easier for yourself. So I'd back Lyndon Arthur to get it done again on points.
Cool. Well, looks like we're going to see it, and I think could be another very, very close fight. Same sort of situation, really. We saw Anthony Kakachi win on the weekend, defend his British title. Immediately after the fight, he basically said he was happy to fight Archie Sharp next, who's a fellow Frank Warren fighter, undefeated. Has looked so far so good in his pro career. Want to keep things fairly unbiased, if that's possible, Paul. But I'm gonna go to Paul first. This fight's not set in stone yet; it's just a possibility. If this fight was to happen, are you able to break it down at all? Give us a prediction.
It is a good fight. I do like the fight as a contest, but I promise I'm being as unbiased as possible. I think Anthony Kakachi wins easily.
It's not funny. Sorry.
But yeah, I do actually think he does win easily. I think he's a level above Archie Sharp. I'd say, me personally, I'm sure you might disagree, but I think he's the only person better than him in Britain in that division is Joe Cordina. For me, he's better than Zelfa Barrett. For me, he's better than Archie Sharp. I know he lost to Martin Ward, but I think he'll beat him in a rematch. So I think he's, without being too biased, I think he's levels above Archie Sharp. So yeah.
No, cool. No, well, that's fair. I think that's your honest opinion. That's fair enough. I think he'd be the favourite going into the fight. Maybe not. Greg, same question.
Anthony Kakachi just seems to keep doing it, doesn't he? He's a good fighter. I think a fighter increases their ability by 10-20% when they've got that crazy focus and belief in themselves. He seems to have it. Archie Sharp is a bag of tricks. I think that he's looked a little bit underwhelming lately because I think he needs to be really, really tested, if I'm honest with you. It's a hard one because Anthony Cacace either gets old, he's coming up for 33, or it's Sharp's defining night. I think both are very capable of beating each other, but it really is a tough one. I don't know if it will maybe come a wee bit too soon for Archie Sharp. Whereas I think if he maybe fought a few really good British rivals, I know he had the tight fight with Jeff Ofori. I'll be honest, I think he thought that he was going to walk through Jeff Ofori and just play with him a bit. I think that's how the performance was the way it was. Oh, it really is tough. I just, at this moment in time, I would have to look at it at the time. I'm not backing out of a prediction. At this moment, I think it might come too soon for him, and Cacace could beat him. But based on talent, and if he shows up with the right game plan, I see him beating Cacace.
Yeah. Sounds like a great fight to me. Sounds like one of these fights that could be like a real British title classic if it does happen. Whether it does or not, we will hopefully find out. Cool. Final topic, gents. Asked you pre-chat to come up with one British fighter who you think is most likely to next win a world title. Paul, going to start with you. Really interested to hear both of your verdicts on this one. Which British fighter is most likely to next win a world title?
So I'd thought of a few, but seeing as you're only asking for one, I suppose I have to pick just one. And the one I think, although he's only had 13 or 14 professional fights, the one I think could be world champion next is Joe Cordina. I think he'll fight for a world title within the first 6 months potentially of 2022. I think he's got everything for me. I know he had that injury, but then since then he came back, and I know he wasn't fighting anybody world beaten, but he looked amazing in his last fight. I know he can punch a bit. His boxing ability, his boxing brain, his movement, everything, even his defense, slick fighter. I think he is one of three who I've thought of. He's probably one that I give the best chance of being Britain's next world champion. Yeah,
interesting. And it's a really big shout. It's a really tough division. Obviously, you got Oscar Valdez, Shakur Stevenson, Jamel Herring. He obviously won't necessarily fight one of those guys for a world title, but who do you think he could not only win a world title, but be like the top guy in that division? How do you think in, say, a year's time, he's got a world title, he's trying to unify, fights Oscar Valdez, fights Shakur Stevenson / Jamel Herring? How would you think he gets on in those fights?
I think in a year's time, I know Herring and Stevenson are going to fight each other, so I don't know whether obviously one of them will be progressing on more, but I think in a year's time he could possibly beat Jamel Herring. Shakur Stevenson is really good. That's a fight I'd love to see. Maybe not in a year's time, but maybe in a 2 years' time. That would be an amazing unification if they both stayed at the weight. Oscar Valdez, he's another one. I don't know. You probably have to favour Oscar Valdez, but I do think Joe Cordina has a chance to become, although it's a tough division, whether someone moves up, vacates, I do think he has a good chance in those unifications, but then I could be completely wrong. He might lose all three if he got the chance, but I don't think so, because from what I've seen, I have a belief that he can definitely win a world title.
Cool. No, great stuff. Well, yeah, it's definitely a very talented fighter. He's achieved a lot in his career so far, and yeah, looking forward to seeing what he does next. So, Greg, same question for you. Who's going to be the next Brit to win a world title?
So it's tough. This was something that I'd done before we came on, and I looked. And sometimes I think what you need to do is put talent aside and see who else is in the division. Because I think Joe Cordina is a smashing fighter. That's a tough division to win a world title. And is he capable of it? Yeah. It's a hard division though. And the one that I've picked, I'm probably contradicting myself here completely, but I think your next world champion will be Boatse. I think it could be a vacation that gets him a shot at the world title. I just think it could be Bivol, it could be Beterbiev, but are they really going to want to fight Joshua Boatse for a fraction of the money that they would get fighting other people? Bivol's looking at Canelo and vice versa. Beterbiev might fight him, but Beterbiev, is he not going to be about 37 this year? And he still is a good fighter, but very good fighter. But I just think Joshua Buatsi is really, really talented, and I think you need to look at a division that's ready to break up. Whereas Canelo holds a world title, Bivol was always looking to get back down to 12 stone. Beterbiev is 37. I think it'll be Buatsi. I think that he'll get ordered to fight somebody like Bivol or Beterbiev. Could be an injury, but one of them will vacate the title and he'll fight someone in the top 10, and he's probably better than everyone apart from maybe the top 4 or so. So yeah, I think Buatsi.
Interesting, and I'm going to kind of try and divulge into your point a little bit more. I think someone else in that division who's decent, good fight, obviously world champion, Joe Smith Jr. That's possibly someone who we could fight. How do you think he would get on Joe Smith Jr. if he was to fight him next at the end of this year?
Beat Joe Smith Jr. Too slow. Good fighter, but too slow. Buatsi will be hitting him from angles. Probably punches is one of the hardest punchers that Joe Smith will ever have been in with. I know he's been in with some guys who can crack a bit, but like I always say to you, sometimes I sound like a broken down record. Timing is everything in boxing, everything. And I just think that would be a fight I would favour Buatsi in. I think Joe Smith Jr. is a decent fighter, but Buatsi's on the up and he's only going to get better. So yeah, I think he'd win that fight.
Cool. Well, no, appreciate the honesty there, gents. And yeah, that's the end. That's the end of it. But but really enjoyed talking to both of you this evening. Really appreciate really appreciate the time, and really appreciate your thoughts as well. Lots of interesting stuff covered.
Anytime, mate.